Hi, Ricard. Thanks for joining the
Hello,
show. It's
David.
a real pleasure having you here. How are you?
Fine, thanks. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you and talk about the things we love.
Exactly. So the idea of this show is to talk about the life sciences industry and various topics. So the theme of this show is variation management. And basically, you are the expert. In the previous episode, we talked about the beginning. So there's a trigger for a change, for example, change control. And then an impact assessment has to be performed to understand which registrations worldwide would be impacted by a proposed change or changes. At some point, the piece of information comes to you, and you are then responsible for managing the strategy of the variation, of planning of the submission, and also the execution. So Could you tell me a little bit more about your work and what you do?
Exactly. As you said, at some point, we receive all the communication of the changes. So first of all, we should check these changes. We should reduce them to variations. So we check the guideline of variations and say, okay, so this change should be classified as this kind of variations. Okay. So once we have it, we should check also that all the documentation that it's requested by the guidelines of variations has been provided, or we should request it. So once we have all the documentations and we have classified all the changes, we should assess how we will submit these changes, these variations to the authorities, if we should group them or single variations or whatever. So these three steps are the main steps that we work on.
That's great. So let's go a little bit more practical. Could you give me a concrete example of what you worked on recently?
Yes, I explained the three steps like it was a really simple and easy thing to do, but sometimes the things get more difficult. So for example, one time we were asked to submit more or less 70 variations because a client wanted to update the dossier of a registered product 20 years ago. And we should really perform a huge work of trying to classify, trying to gather all the information and documentation needed, and trying to plan a strategy for the submission of these variations. This was a huge challenge, but with a huge success.
A huge success is always good because then you know that the hard work was actually worth it. And
of course,
it sounds very complex. I cannot imagine trying to handle 70 different changes. So I guess you have to align a lot. You have to double check a lot of things. You have to communicate with various people, various departments. I can sense a lot of challenges. Could you tell me some of the top challenges you have in your line of work?
Yes, one of the challenges that's more important for us is just to, as you said perfectly, is to be aligned. That all information that we are provide is correct, that all the documents are up to date, that the ECTD guys are just receiving all the documentation that they need to perform the submission. And this is a huge challenge because there's a lot of people involved in this process and everyone just cares or minds about their business. But if we are aligned, we would really save a lot of time just checking that the information is correct, that checking that the approved status of the product is the one that should be. And if we were all aligned, for example, in a single application, if the writer could upload the Module 3 documents and update them and check them and approve them, we would be able just to check them in the same application, and the ECTD guys would see all our work and just grab the correct documents. So any information wouldn't be loose in all this process if it was all centralized in a single application. This is a huge challenge that we are all aligned and all in the same page.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that, and I've seen this in many places, in many companies, is people work in silos, which makes sense. You're responsible for your piece of work. You don't really understand what's happening 2 steps before you or 2 steps after you, but the consequences are there. You have to somehow engage with people. You have to have the right piece of information, the right documents, even though you're not directly related to it, right? So what I'm hearing here is trying to bring people together, bring the processes and all the information together into one single workspace so that you break those silos, right?
Exactly. This would avoid just confusions like you are not working or you are not taking the most updated section, and maybe then you are not taking the most updated QP declaration, and just trying to avoid time, trying to avoid validation deficiencies, trying to be all aligned would be really efficient for all of us. Yeah, that's completely right, David. Yeah,
exactly. And these are the internal challenges that you somehow have to solve, but also there's external challenges, I would say, because the world of life sciences and regulatory affairs specifically is changing constantly. Is there any new developments that are interesting?
Exactly. I think that we should keep an eye on the ICH Q12 guideline on technical and regulatory considerations for pharmaceutical product lifecycle management, because this would really change the scenario that we are. I mean, the main idea is that you explain all the changes that you are foreseeing to perform in a management protocol. And this management protocol would be submitted to the agency would review it. And when it's time to submit all these changes that you are planned, you have the option and you will have the possibility to just submit less details, less information, and the variations would be downgrade. For example, type 2 variations could be submitted as type 1B, and variations type 1A wouldn't just have to be submitted. So this would be really, this would make our lives easier, and this, we should keep an eye on this. Yeah, for sure.
So new efficiencies coming our way, and hopefully we can start implementing them soon in the real world scenarios.
Yeah, we are looking forward for this.
So with this, I thank you, Ricard. It was a very short but very good conversation. I've learned new things, and it was a real pleasure talking to you. And hopefully I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to be here, and I look forward to see the whole result of these talks. Yeah, thank you very much, David.
Thank you.